Our streaming, I think we are
Oh, yeah, passed on.
good to go.
Right. I'll call our meeting to order. Davin was nice enough to put an agenda in front of everybody's place. Hope everybody's travels abroad were great. Welcome back. Definitely things are moving along. Just to thank you up. We all know what assistant county manager means. That means you do what Blaine doesn't want to do, right? You said it. Okay. You can tell him we said. Okay, the agenda, if you have it, we have a couple of housekeeping things to do. When we met in February of the 28th, we did not have a forum, so all the information was certainly information at that meeting. So the first order of business is to approve 2 sets of minutes. Davin had sent those out. The first is, we'll go kind of in reverse order. The first was from February 28th, 2023. Again, that was the meeting where we did not have a forum to be able to approve the January minutes. So we do that in just a moment. But if I could have a motion to approve the February 28th, 2023 minutes.
Is one correction.
Okay.
Item 4A. Second sentence, this will include providing more details. Just that word including should be included.
So Diane, could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, that second sentence, this will including providing details. So just make it include rather than including. Item 4A.
Well, I think you're looking at the wrong one. She's up there. We're up there.
We're at February?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Right.
Got it.
Take out the items. Got it.
Thank you for that. Acknowledging Diane's change, do we have a motion to approve those minutes? We have a second. One in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. That's the February 23rd minutes. The other minutes that have been sent, it was from January 23rd. You should have those as well. That was some things in there. Everyone's had a chance to review those. And I'm going to motion to approve. Keith, second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? The rest of the agenda is pretty straightforward. We'll hear from Mike on some manager reports, and a little bit of an update on some future plan under the old business. I'll acknowledge the standing committee since we did not have a forum in February to discuss those. And then any standing committee updates we have. If you have to leave early, or if you want to take this as a note, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 25th. All right, let's move ahead. Airport manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's take a look at the financials. Do we have that up front?
I'm sorry, we normally have got 2 computers, but Christina has a second, so I'm having to take minutes.
Oh,
And so, yeah.
Oh, she's got it. Can you make it? I take the whole screen. Thank you. So we actually had another good month. Really happy with the way it turned out. You know, I was looking at this and, you know, if you look at the avgas, sales and you look at the cost of goods sold on avgas, we pretty much hit that mark, didn't we, on the, annual budget? I think we're off by $450 on the revenue side and $26 on the cost of goods side, which usually we're off a little bit for the better. Looking at the sales for fuel on Jet A, we were off by the better, thank goodness. You know, it's hard to predict Jet A because especially this year, well, especially after COVID, actually, because prior to that, you know, the team, especially basketball, which is what we're in now, they were flying RJs and, you know, smaller aircraft like that, 70 seaters. And now they're flying 737s and you know, Embraer 145s, 195s, which are like a DC-9. And you know, the bigger the jet means the more fuel they're gonna put on. And as you'll see from the fees, you know, the more fees we'll add, because it's a bigger jet, they have more stuff to baggage handling, ramp fees, landing fees. Our landing fees, we charge per 1,000 pounds, you know, on an aircraft. So the heavier they are, the more we make. So it's been hard to really, you know, determine what direction these colleges are gonna go when they come in. And that's been a good thing. I can't say that I would do that all the time because who knows that they might change their mind again. If I budget high, they might change their mind again and then want to save money and go back down. So I'd rather budget kind of what it has been consistent in the past, and then as it seems to be the norm, maybe give it a couple of years and then I'll I'll bring it up in the budget. But so looking at our actual for the month, we did 440,000 total plus. On the expense side, we did 308. We had total revenue minus expenses of 132. So another really good month, which added to our year-to-date actual of 769,000. The avgas totals that we had in gallons for February was 7,800. And then Jet A was 44,000. The operations we had was 3,500, which is very good. Because I think that's the best we had so far this year, except for October, where we did 4,000. And that was probably due to, I don't know if that was the Tennessee game, probably was. I'm not sure, but that was a pretty good one. So all in all, we're doing very well. We've got the DOD here this week and last week. They've got 2 King Airs. Not quite sure what they're doing. We don't ask, you know, we just make sure they're on the up and up. But they've been taking fuel and they got some kind of bump on the top. I don't know what some kind of radar, but they're doing a lot of training right now. And so they've been using this room an awful lot. And then the Chinook out there, I don't know if you saw it, that airplane, or that helicopter rather, has been here for a while, and they're checking out pilots for that. And that's a private company. Not quite sure if it's affiliated with the, you know, with the US government in any way or not. I don't know. They're training in that, like I say, we've seen them fly around. You may have seen them fly around town too. They've been around town a little bit. But we're glad to have them because we've been fueling them up as well. For the military, as you remember, and I'll say this for the new folks, is that we have a military fuel contract. And so we're able to accept military in, and we're on in the book, I guess, the book, you know, it says Athens is authorized to fuel, you know, any type of military, US DoD aircraft. So we get all kinds of DoD aircraft in here, which is good. I renegotiated that contract about a year ago, and we got normally so much above cost. We doubled it during that negotiation. They didn't want to do it, but they didn't argue about it much. So we were able to double it. So that's really helped us out a lot as well. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with the way our financials are looking so far. Our airport fees are higher, much higher than what I had budgeted. But again, we had, I think it was the UGA basketball team. I think it was women's, and they had the band with them. Am I right about that?
Yes, they had a band up, there's the band.
And so they were flying a company called Breeze, and they have 737s. And it's Breeze is a regular airline, scheduled airline, but they also have a charter side, a lot like Delta does. So, matter of fact, I have talked to Breeze about coming here on a scheduled service, but you know, let's just talk right now. But anyway, so they had a whole lot more people, a whole lot more baggage, a whole lot more equipment. the pilots weren't happy because, they're concentrated on the weight, of a 6,000-foot runway. And, anyway, so it was kind of in our favor. We didn't put on a whole lot of fuel, but, we did have only 3 people figured we'd handle it the regular way. Well, they had so many people. Our 3 people were at double time pretty much, and we charged them double. We normally would charge them a little over $2,000 to handle something like that with the baggage, and we bumped it up to 4,000 something. So we made some money on that too. Landing fees, of course, and ramp fees as well. So, it all adds up, and so we're kind of pleased with the way our airport fees are looking so far. Let's see, do you have any questions? Everything else is kind of the norm, I guess. You keep it.
I don't, but Mike, other than what you're saying about as far as the expenses down there, those, airport administration services and maintenance, nothing, that's just with volume and all, nothing, no major expense item in there.
No, we did buy some furniture. I don't know if you noticed it out there. A lot of FBOs, of course, cater to the pilots. You've got to cater to the pilots because they're the ones that get determined if they're gonna put fuel on. We try to make them as happy as possible. David, he's gone into many FBOs and he knows this. They have areas where, you can have your coffee, you can relax. We do have a pilot lounge back there, but, that's for considered the corporate pilots who just want to kind of get away and relax. This is more for folks that come in, and spend a little bit of time with us and but want to do it with some comfort. And so we did get that. I don't know if that was about $5,000. I don't know if that amount's going to be in, I have to look and see if it's reflected in here or not. It might be this month actually. But we did buy that. But other than that, yeah, everything is the same. The administrative overhead charges, that's 200,000, a little over 200,000 that we pay for Athens-Clarke County, HR, purchasing, all those things. Athens-Clarke County, accounting, all of that. So yep, it's all pretty much the same.
Is that administrative overhead, is that a fixed fee?
It is, yeah. It goes up every year, it seems. This year it was 200,000. I don't know if it went up last year or next year.
I think it did. Let's see, I've got last year's.
But yeah, it's a fixed fee. So they amortize it.
So we had 182,874 last year, and this year's, 201,358, so about 20,000.
That pays for the attorney's fees, all that kind of stuff that we use with that as well. Right. The capital improvement project update. We had our pre-construction meeting about a week or so ago on the 220 project, runway 220. And we're going to be doing reclamation project on that. Basically what they'll do is they'll have a machine that will grind, I think, probably 2 to 4 inches of the asphalt, and then send it right in a hopper, mix it with the concrete, and just lay it right back down. It's not a new process to roads and bridges, but it is kind of a new process to airports. So Andrew with RSNH is going to set up a meeting so we can talk about that process, with the folks that do it, because it is kind of new. And, although I've heard about it, I never really have seen it. So they may use us as a good test, I guess, for magazines and publications and, the process. So we're going to meet with them. Devin and I are going to meet with them. And I think next week we're trying to set that up. And see. The project? I think it's 75 days. Yeah, so we'll have that done fairly quickly. And that's of course if the weather's good, which hopefully it will be. Not too many rainy days. We had Jessica Turner in our pre-con, who's the tower chief. And I always include her in everything we do with construction. And then I had, Russ, our operations supervisor, of course, Davin too. So we included them. And then we'll have weekly construction meetings, which we always do. And, Jessica will be involved in that. Russ will be involved in that as well, and of course, Davin. So that kind of keeps everybody in the loop. We'll have our engineer, consultant, the contractor. We meet every week.
I presume that, that runway, I assume.
It will. We'll have X's on it. And one of the parts of that project is to at the end of the asphalt, you can see at the end of each end of that asphalt up there, there's grass. And very close to that asphalt, for about, I don't know, about 100 feet, it kind of goes down through a ditch. Well, that's not to specifications. Specifications is 300 feet out from asphalt that's supposed to be flat, like an overrun. And so we'll be bringing dirt in for various parts of the airport. We have a lot of dirt that we have piled up that we can use. And we'll be bringing dirt in to bring that up to standard to 300 feet out on both ends. And on the north end, there'll be fencing put up as well. So that's going to be a big project. Then also with that project, we'll be putting in high intensity lighting for that runway as well. We're looking into LED lighting. The airports were finally authorized to use LED, but when they did the design on that, it wasn't approved. So it might be a little bit more money. Just gotta find out exactly how much. And if we do have a little savings on that project, I think that's where I'd like to put it, in the LED lighting.
Is that FAA funded?
That one is state funded because it's our second runway. So the second runway, the state funds, the FAA won't fund. They won't fund the taxiway or the runway on your second runway. But the funding is 75% state and 25% local. So it's still a good match. It's not your 95, 5, and 5,
No.
but it's still a good match.
If you do explore the LED lighting, would you be able to look at rebates from the power? I don't know a lot of times energy projects.
That's a good question. I don't know. I'll check into that.
I mean, it may not, I mean, comparatively speaking, the price of the contract.
Yeah, that would be nice. I will check into that. I know that when we did the LED lighting for the taxiways here, when we had the main runway done, we saved about $300 or $400 a month. And, but I don't think anybody checked into it that time. It was about the time I started here when we started that project.
They offer a rebate program for energy projects.
That, yeah, I would imagine it would, wouldn't you? I would think.
We do it on campus.
That's good. Well, I might check into that. One thing I was gonna mention too, I'll mention it now, is, I was gonna mention it under marketing and outreach activities, but we, Davin and I had an opportunity to show, Representative Mike Collins around. He came out, about a week or so ago. Commissioner Davenport and also Commissioner Taylor came as well. We got to talk with them and show them around and give them a tour. But we drove on the runway 220 runway, and Representative Collins said, "So is this runway abandoned?" And I said, "No, sir." I said, "It's active." He said, "Well, it's abandoned." I said, "Yeah." You know, so we're trying to kill the grass as much as we can. But he's a pilot. He's learning how to fly, so he's kind of knowledgeable. But it's in rough shape. I tell you, it's probably 40 years old, the asphalt is. Just like the main runway was about 5 years ago.
That's a good stretch for us.
Yeah, yeah. It's cracked. I mean, there's cracks in there like that. It's rough. David knows, he probably lands on it on occasion.
Are you able to give me kind of like during movements between?
Yeah, you do crack seal, normally, after so many years.
I was thinking, like, I mean, I know highways and stuff you do overlay every about 10 years.
Yeah, well, they like to do the crack seal first, maintain it that way after about 10 years, keep it going. The overlays are expensive, so they'll do that. And then they'll do the, top coat, what do you call it, top seal?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they'll do a top seal as well, shortly thereafter. But every time you do it, you've got to remark it. And that remarking is so expensive, you've lived that world, yeah. And so, yeah, it gets really expensive. But that's the way GDOT likes to see it. FAA to a degree, they like to kind of do that step, do a major and then 10 years, the crack seal and then all that. Then in about 20, they usually do 20, they'll go back and do it again right.
So you finally got Patrick Davenport to come.
Yeah.
That's
He
great.
he was impressed, he was. We went up to the tower and that was a good visit. We showed him the sites, there were 3 sites. That's something else I was gonna get into. I can get into that too, but there were 3 sites at one time for the new tower. Now there's 5 sites. Last week, yeah.
They go the wrong way.
I know, yeah. They like all of them. They don't like where the tower is now. They think that just doesn't work. They like all the sites except some of the sites have issues of one type or another. And, so we sat down for a good hour and a half, all of us on a computer. And some FAA dude somewhere, I don't know where he was, in the United States, but very knowledgeable, and created this 3D image of a tower up here and what it would look like, And so we all kind of looked at that and everybody said, well, no. And then after an hour, they put me on the spot and they said, Mike, so if these don't work, where else would you put a tower? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I thought we exhausted this. And so we spent another half hour to 45 minutes and we determined, okay, well, this area might be good. But we have an ALP, an airport layout plan, and so some of that might change. But I said, it's an old plan, we're gonna update it anyway. I said, let's not jeopardize a new tower going in at Athens-Clarke County. Let's work together. And so it might be that we put it where the Colvin hangar is, which is okay because I wanted to put a hangar there, but if this tower goes, I'm gonna put a hangar there. So it would just kind of work itself out. They really, really like, which I was totally against at first, but I'm thinking, okay, they really like out here, we were gonna put that second parking lot. But we're talking about putting a parking deck next to it. And, which would suit me just fine. It's gonna be more money, but we can get the FAA money for it. So if they want to put it there, we just have to find temporary parking, which I think we can, and then build a parking deck, put that on our ALP, kind of move it up on our ALP.
Was it if you do a deck, was the plan two levels?
Here, yeah,
Okay, so that would still be okay.
yeah.
What's
Go ahead.
what's the latest height of the tower?
So it was 60, but they can move it up to 80. They can even move it up to a maximum of 120. Without looking an eye, really. They said they do.
With, is there a deadline for deciding on this?
Yes.
The whole thing's kind of.
Yeah. So right now, April 4th is the deadline. So April 4th, we're gonna have all these tables shoved to the walls. And we've got FAA coming. They're actually gonna bring their meta, I guess, goggles. And they've got a set for me, a set for Jessica. And then they're bringing they're gonna train us how to use it. And we're gonna kind of get here, and we're gonna look at each site, like you're in the control tower, right? And there's the prison, there's the trees, and that's gonna be in our way there, this building, that kind of thing. So that's when they want to kind of start whittling it down. So, okay, and the other thing is this, they want the airport to bring the utilities to them. So, if it's over there, it has utilities, but it would cost some money to bring it there, across the way. Over here, there's utilities. But honestly, as much as I hate to say it, this area right here, you've got fiber, you've got everything, you got water, you got everything. And they seem to be leaning either toward that or over at the Colvin Hangar. The Colvin Hangar, honestly, when they showed the view of that at this last meeting, it was perfect. Like you could see everything. You could see, the problem over here was you couldn't see much of 220 at the end because of the future buildings we wanted to build. Because they did add those, though. They added all the future. They took our ALP, future stuff and present stuff, and they put it on the map and the height of it too. And so, we can still make things work, with them, giving them what they want. And honestly, I'm glad we have a tower. And we're so busy, we need a tower. Jessica told me today that if we didn't find a spot, she was told that this one will be decommissioned and there'd be no spot for it. They've been doing it. We just wouldn't have a tower. So we've got to really work with them. I think it's really important to do that.
I'm just curious, what around the footprint does the tower need? Is it
So-
the tower itself and any parking, or can it just be?
Yeah, it's and that's the other problem too, is what they want. It's really what works for us. In the end, it's what works for us, but they like 2 acres. Yeah, like 20 feet, 20 feet, but that ain't gonna happen. I'll tell you that. They like an acre and a half or they like an acre, but really what they want is it to be secured and it's that inside that security, have some parking, for them. I think I'm gonna make it as small as possible. And so that it's not a burden on us. I'm not gonna give them the world, they know it. I've already talked to them about that. But we wanna make sure that they have what they need and that they're not gonna take all our property. And, they're not gonna own it. It's our property, don't get me wrong, but, they will be using it.
Yeah.
Now, the good thing about this for the new ones too is we don't pay a thing for this tower. A lot of airports, and David knows, they're paying for something. They're paying for the tower itself. They're paying for utilities. They're paying for cleaning fees. They're paying for the personnel. They're paying something normally into this tower. And a lot of people don't believe it, but we are not paying a thing. And I think that's just a great thing for us that we don't have to pay. It's an FAA tower, but they're contracted. They're not FAA employees. They're contracted through another company, and the FAA pays for them, the company.
So they pay for the equipment and everything.
Pay for everything. They'll have brand new equipment in the new tower. It'll be bigger as far as
With an elevator.
in the elevator. Yeah, brand new radios.
Can you believe they don't have an elevator?
I know. Every time.
Well, yeah, yes, I can.
Yeah, look at some buildings on campus, yeah.
40-year-old.
40-year-old
Yeah,
buildings.
yeah.
They just,
Yeah.
sturdier stock back then.
Yes.
But it's funny, when we took Representative Collins up, everybody was huffing and puffing. It's like we couldn't get our breath, even his aides, and they're younger than we are, like. It was,
This last thing, Mike,
Yeah.
regarding the visitors, just curious, did they have any, vision, anything, discussion
Oh, yeah.
regarding long-term with the airport that would be of interest? I mean,
Yeah, we talked heavily about fencing. Because fencing is important for this airport. We have a lot of farm fencing. I would say we probably have the proper fencing, the 10-foot high, 3 strands of barbed wire, probably, I don't know, probably 40% of the airport, but the rest of it's farm fence. And so, that was one thing we talked about. Then also a new ARF truck, getting a new ARF truck. There's some money available somewhere. And so Davin worked hard to do an application, and we put the fence in there, and we put the fire truck in there. Funny thing is, when we got to the tower, there were 2 coyotes that were crossing the runway. And the tower said, "Hey, there's 2 coyotes that got on the 800 megahertz," and told operations about it. They went out there and chased them off. I put my hand on one of the aides and I said, "See, we need fencing." proof, man, proof. It was just ideal.
How much did you pay for this coyote?
Recommend that?
Just people in coyote suits.
That's what I told them.
Got Russ running around with a wily coyote suit.
Yeah, it was perfect timing. I mean, perfect.
It's good.
And, but yeah, so they were very pleased with what they saw. There was a blurb, I think it was it, Twitter? Did he take the Twitter? I think the congressman did, and, said how much he enjoyed the tour. How much, what good things we ever do.
We can provide suggestions ultimately.
The tower, yeah. But I say that, but I think they know that we own the property. They know that if it wasn't for us, I guess, allowing them to do it, then, they couldn't do it. So we're working real well together. And yes, I guess in a sense, they are the ones that know the proper placement for this, this tower. And that's way above me. So if they think that's the best place, then I'm gonna try to work with them. The other thing is this, right now, our rotating beacon is on the tower. And when they came out one time, I asked them if we could put a rotating beacon back on the new tower. And they said, no, can't be done. We're changing that, can't be done. So now I think, with us working together, trying to make it work. I asked them at this last meeting, and I'm going to continue to ask them, is there any way that I can put this, rotating beacon back on a new tower? Because I don't want to have to build this humongous tower and put a beacon on it somewhere on this airport. And plus, then you'd have to put blinder on it so that when it turns, it doesn't hit the tower, in the eye. So if you had it on the tower, it just makes more sense. So anyway, so when I asked them, they said, yeah, I think we're through. So I'm thankful for that and hope we can.
I'd like to look for what's the date you would anticipate that new town will be in.
They are talking 2025, start 2025. They're kind of right up there on that list. I think us and, I don't know if you were in that meeting. Can't remember. It might have been Macon. I think it's us and Macon. We're trying to do it at the same time. Taxway Alpha project. I'm excited that we're going to be getting going on that. We're still trying to close out the old project. But it's well on its way. It won't take much longer to close that out, with GDOT anyway. With that said, RSNH has given me a work authorization, which I need to do a agenda item for. I'm gonna try to get that approved at the next, not the upcoming, but the next one, mayor commission meeting. He's got some dates on here that will have to change a little bit according to the mayor commission schedule. We'll share some of them with you, kind of get an idea as to what we're thinking about. So they're kind of already working on the redesign rather, of the Alpha project with the surveyor and the geotech folks. They're doing extra geotech to make sure, that the rock isn't in the way. They're going to be, if you remember, they're going to be bringing back dirt, which we have stockpiled on the airport, to avoid the rock, that was hit by digging down so low. We're going to bring it back up and avoid the rock and the water line too. So some of the dates we have is basically, let's see. Design, 90% of the design documents will be in June. 100% design documents in July, a bid announcement in July, pre-bid meeting in July, bid opening August. And so shortly thereafter the bid opening, we'd like to get the contractor moving, finish that project. Luckily, we did very well last year with back taxi. Again, it's not ideal, don't like it. This year, apparently, I haven't really looked thoroughly, but apparently we don't have a big schedule, I guess, football. You know, like some heavy hitters. So, yeah. So, I'm thankful for that in a sense that we probably will have to back taxi some. We'll probably start the project during football season, but the good thing is that it won't affect the runway. It'll be off the runway, you know, in the taxiway area, so we don't have to halt any of the project during football season. And when we do have to close the airport down for intersection issues, or not issues, but you know, when we get to the intersections and have to do our thing there, it will be after football season. So that's a good thing. So I feel good about this. I'll give you more information on the dates, because these are kind of preliminary right now. Once I look at the mayor and commission's schedule, we'll kind of set it up accordingly. I'll get with Andrew, set it up accordingly. I think I reported last month that we finished our Rofer project. And so I won't talk about that one anymore. That one's a done deal. FAA is happy, GDOT's happy. That's a very successful project. The localizer, we got our final contract with a company that's going to be maintaining our localizer and flag slope. So we should have them start, I think once the VOR is back up and running. Is it back up and running? No, probably not, because they're changing the frequency, aren't they? I think so. Once they get that up and running, we'll be able to turn the localizer on and then get the flag slope going and then have a full ILS again. It's been a while since we've had that going.
It's like the old vacuum and then tail will just come in.
Well, this one is
Radio.
radio. Yeah. It's like you have two needles, and one's the localizer and then one's the glide slope. And then as long as you keep them centered, it kind of brings you right on a good glide path right to the runway.
Like two tracker beams perpendicular to one another.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing, light. Bring them back again.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's that, but you don't see it. Radio wave.
Yeah. Yep, we got that. We got a Vassy and a Happy too. Yeah. Those are run by the FAA too, so we don't have to maintain them. Let's see, what else? That's all I had on the capital improvements. So marketing and outreach. I spoke to the Kiwanis Club last week. Evan with me participated. That was a good event. There was, I don't know, maybe 20 folks there. Asked good questions. Asked a lot about passenger service as well. And everybody's interested in that. Let's see. I talked about furniture. We've got that out there. We also out there have a new feature. It's above the coffee station, and it's the ACC Gov TV. And it's something that we've been wanting to get here for a while. And it pretty much shows a lot of what ACC government is doing, all the good things, all the meetings that are coming up. A few things that I found out that I asked about, if it's possible to do with public information, is if we could advertise on it. And I was told that it's possible that they're setting it up so the departments will be individualized and will be able to do different things, you know, on that TV. And what I'd like to do is use that as a revenue source, have hotels, restaurants, you know, because we get those questions all the time. Where's a good hotel? Where's a good restaurant? You know, so we can put that up there and charge for that and put that, you know, as a revenue source. So I'm going to work with our information office. Let's see if they can go in that direction. I know they're trying to.
The local limited black car drivers may be interested in.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we probably get Hertz up there.
Right. You know,
Oh,
as,
yeah.
as people are waiting around for an Uber to not show up, seeing a sign that says, "Oh, I can book my limo for my next trip."
Yeah,
Not a
yeah.
bad place to.
catering, you know, I mean, man, we could really make good money on that. I probably need 3 TVs, right?
Not much of the taxes. So.
Pretty challenging in this.
All right, so I'm gonna mention this too. So last month we talked about the printing toys. I did get with, Kent Kilpatrick, he's the director of the Leisure Services. And, he sent me, a few things too. I'll pass these around, but here's one that I had never seen, you know, in Googling. Just kind of neat, but it's $3,500.
I
And
might update everyone. Wasn't here last time.
yeah. So David and I had talked about having a mini park, a little mini area, I guess, right in front of the terminal. Right there where the Bulldog is, and nothing big, you know, we're talking about maybe one of these, you know, here's a seesaw, which, you know, the ages for this is 2 to 12. You know, these are more like 2 to 5, I think. And this one here, here's one too. This is only $500. That's it. It's pricey, but that's 2 to 5 as well. But to have maybe 2, 3 max out there, and then have a couple picnic tables out there, so that folks can come through here and enjoy the airport out there, have a picnic, you know, have their kids out there. It's kind of in front of my office, basically. And so we're thinking about that. I'm gonna pass these around, you can look at them. But I don't know, I guess we'll just have to see how much it's gonna be. It would be nice if we could have somebody donate some money into it, you know? Maybe some industries, maybe put a plaque out there. You know, we'll make some calls. There's folks in town I know that might want to help, you know, that are associated with the airport, that kind of thing. So I don't, you know, that's a lot of money for the airport to take on, but I think if somebody could help us, that would be good. That's the route I'm gonna try. Because if you really put it in there, it'd be over 10,000. Yeah, probably well over 10,000. It might be a 15,000, you know, with the nice picnic tables, might be about $15,000 project. So that's something that David and I are looking to do. Let's see, I talked about a tower. Glad Nikki's here. I was gonna mention him on the screen. I'm gonna let Davin talk about the self-serve, clear point, strategic plan when we get to that, Mr. Chair. So I think mine.
Move ahead.
Okay.
You might want to mention, Jamie Boswell.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Bosworth. Nice. So we had Jimmy Boswell here, and that was yesterday, right? Yeah, we took him to lunch. And, he is on the board of directors, what is it? Board of Directors with GDOT. And, very nice guy. You know, we've met him before, and he's just a super nice guy. But we gave him a tour of the airport. We set it up. We met him at a GDOT function a couple months ago, when we asked him if he wanted to come by. And so we finally got him here, and I took him to lunch, showed him the airport, and he's impressed, you know, with what we're doing. And of course, there's, one of his questions was, you know, passenger service, so I brought him up to speed on that. But he's a great guy, and he said he's, you know, he'll help us in any way that he can. Yeah, thank you for your money.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Second reappointment.
Yes, I think so.
He was the chair last.
Was it? Okay. Yeah.
So, as far as self-serve, we have reached out to Josh Simpson, our representative with Titan, and he has given us 3 folks to reach out to get quotes for that. So we're looking at a 1,000-gallon tank for the self-serve. I think Mike has talked about where it'll go over on the east side of the airport. So I'll be getting those quotes in hopefully soon. And then really, I don't have anything to report as far as the strategic plan is concerned. So it's I've just got to get motivated to do some wordsmithing and, to update what y'all have done. But the process for that will be that, once I get that draft, Mike will review it, then once Mike approves it, then it'll go to the manager's office, they will approve it, and then once they've approved it, I'll bring it back to or we'll bring it back to the board and get your approval on that as well. Again, it shouldn't substantively change, but the wording, will change.
Diane, probably, this happened while you were gone, so you probably need to be brought up to speed, don't you? Yeah, so she probably doesn't know.
Sure, so, after the board approved the strategic plan, we, I'm blanking.
Josh and Joseph.
Yes, thank you, yes, so, Josh, the other assistant, manager,
Joseph.
and Joseph, D'Angelo, who, works with the strategic planning for the county, and is in charge of the ClearPoint, software, came to visit us and asked questions. So we finalized your strategic plan. I said, yes, we have, the board's approved it. And I said, well, we want to have your strategic plan, match, other departments. And so, for example, on our goals, our goals will say, expand the general aviation experience. So it is important, though, for it to match what, other departments are doing, is to provide a why. So why do you want to do that? So the goal needs to say why. And then there are, a couple of our, other, sort of strategies, and initiatives that just need some expanding. So it's something that we may understand as one word. So build hangars, we understand that, but to provide a little bit more context for that so that somebody, who is not as familiar with the airport would then be able to get a better grasp of what that understands. So that's essentially the reason for the change.
Unreasonable.
Yeah.
No.
Rationale is a standard.
So that, I'm sorry. So that wordage, will need to fit in the ClearPoint input.
That's right.
And I know in the past, it seemed like there's space limitations and we've got a lot of text in our
Yeah.
goals as they are. Do you think it's gonna fit with the whys and some of the explanations?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer.
I think it will. I
Okay.
think it will. There's room for it. You just have to be smart in how you wordsmith it.
Well, I mean, we can edit the wording and
Yeah.
type it up.
Yeah.
Did we ever do that on goal 4? Did we do that?
Yes.
So long
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
so.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
Finish it all.
Yeah.
We can-
Yeah.
we can
And that's what I
do that.
told them. I said, we were pioneers in this. We did this 5 years ago
Mhm.
and we were the very first ones. So, we're now having to go back and kind of, everybody else is kind of catching up. And so we're kind of forming ours to, the way it should be as all departments are in ClearPoint. And it just makes it easier. That way, and I understand it that way when a commissioner looks at it, it's not like a totally different, language. You say everything's the same. That's the way it should be, really.
They give us a date. So,
What's that
they
question?
give us a date.
No, but I'm sure as soon as possible. So
Yeah.
I'd like to have it.
And the reason as soon as possible, because as soon as we get that done, we can do our annual report, which we need to get done.
So, Devin, you were saying, and, just as the next step for us, you were saying you were shooting for trying, is it reasonable shooting for trying to, give the review back to this board at to the April meeting? Is that a reasonable next step or?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long the manager's office will take to review, how long it'll take. No, I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
That's what we're shooting for anyway, is next, as an agenda item next for April's meeting.
Absolutely.
So we're waiting for some additional feedback before coming back.
That's
From the man.
So,
Yeah, that's right.
when you provide it back to us, just to say, it will be ready for the
Manager.
manager's law. Something like that we have to do is if we don't have issue with the word and approve it.
Absolutely.
And they won't have a hang up of slight wording. I mean, we can always change things, just as long as the format's the same, which is really what's important, really.
Have you got the format? of those
Yes.
signs?
Yes,
So we know,
yeah, we sat down with Josh and Joseph and we went through that pretty thoroughly as far as, you know, the format and how we need to change things. And it's not really changing the words that any of you put together or anything like that. It's just putting those words in that format.
And then after, the April, say it's April, where they can review it here, then then you would input it to a form.
Mhm.
So,
You'd like to start on 2024.
Yeah.
Any questions, before we go forward, Mike, and we're gonna have to do out of the manager report or the whole business. All right, next item on the agenda is the new business standing committee member assignments. Like I said, last time we didn't have a forum and we decided to move the committee assignments to this meeting. And of course, Craig is not with us today, but he's aware of these discussions. And what the assignments will be based on conversations with either me directly with you or you sharing with me through email or discussions through Mike. The operations committee will be David, Craig, and then I'll take an opportunity to see that one. ASD will be Jeff and Diane. And then the finance and planning will be Keith Wilson. And since we've obviously not had an opportunity to meet, we'll land this out before we really go forth today, unless Mike is in. We'll take those at the beginning and they can just, I'm just asking to confer with Mike about questions you might have about those committees, things that were started and process from last year to this. Anybody hasn't part from any of those committees, let me know. Serve beautifully. and happy to-
with pleasure.
Right, Mike, kind of skipped over that, but are there any updates on standing committees issues in that meeting there? I don't have anything, you may have anything that they're aware of by virtue. Any other business? Our next meeting is April 25th. Before we adjourn, and then I'll give that bit of a spot. Give me anything you want to share with us as a group. In the role, or what you're expecting, or this is your expected.
Sure. So happy to be here and look forward to learning about the airport. In fact, we have a tour tomorrow. So airport is something that's never been in my background, so I'm learning. And I know I've got a great team here to kind of finish and working with y'all. You know, if you have anything that you need from the manager's office, feel free to reach out. Of course, you know, I can reach out to you as well. We're here in the supporting role. Here to answer any questions that you have. But just by way of introduction about myself, I was just telling Mike, it's almost been about 2 years for me. I came here from North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. The family and I love it here, and so the Farmville, yeah, North Carolina, you know where that is? Back in the country, stationed there. Okay, yeah, my father was stationed there.
How long were you involved?
5 years. Yep. And then I worked in Greenland. Oh, okay, you're a pack guy.
So how long have you been with ACC?
Almost 2 years.
Yeah,
Almost 2 years.
and where were you before in ACC?
City of Raleigh.
But I mean, when you came here, you said 2 years in ACC, so before you took this position.
I was with the city of Raleigh, North Carolina, and then I came here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the manager's office?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So you'll come to our meetings?
At this point, yes. We do like to rotate departments, which is good because we get to learn a lot. And again, you know, airport's not something that's ever been in my background. My background's in city planning, economic development, housing. That's kind of what I've been in my entire career.
So he's gonna learn a lot, especially with that Alpha project.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, like I said, next meeting is scheduled for the 25th of April. We'll send out information certainly well before the meeting to remind everybody about the agenda. If there's anything that develops between now and then, and then we might know, so we can make sure we get that on the agenda for the discussions. But if anything, for the good of the order that comes up, we didn't ask questions. Appreciate everybody's attendance. Mike, Evans, so thank you for working for you. Yeah, thanks. For that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Move. Second. Sure, we have no negatives. So have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
it's
80.
44 to 100.
Yeah, the foot torn, ligament